The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Hello. Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philos-O-Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And here we are, episode 39.
39.
What is this one?
This is the Winchester Mystery House.
Yes.
Yes.
Very cool place.
It was very cool. We didn't know we were last week at this time, we had no idea we were going to be doing this episode this week.
That's true.
Yes. So it's kind of an interesting story.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to talk about it.
Me either.
But before we do, anything from last week?
Yes, actually. Well, this isn't so much from last week, but I wanted to read this. My friend Lexi sent this the other day. She said, on my prayer walk with Delta, that's her dog, I finished the Be Kind episode. I've been using these morning walks to talk to God and listen. When Danny said, take a person in a managerial position, I was like, oh yeah, Spirit is talking to me. And he says, and they have a person above them breathing down their neck saying this needs to get done. And I'm like, yep, this is my message. My main goal in 2020 is to be in my purpose and do what serves my purpose. And part of it is managing the yoga studio. And I need to be a good manager. And through grace and kindness, I can be a good manager and get things done with the help of my staff. Praise up and thank you, Spiritual Joneses.
Nice. That's cool, Lexi.
Yeah,
Right on.
thanks, Lexi. She's really going through spiritual awakening herself, and it's interesting to watch the process that she's going through. It's a lot different from mine.
Right.
But, yeah.
Cool.
It's really cool. Yeah.
Good for her.
So thanks again, Lexi. That was sweet.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention before we get into this episode is that I have set my next medium circle.
Very cool.
Yes, and that's going to be February 8th at 1 p.m. It is at Hot Yoga Haven in Newhall, California. So if you're in the area and you would like to come to that, you can give them a call to set up a reservation because it is limited seating. So their number is 661-255-1500. And you just call them and tell them that you want to come to the circle and they'll get you set up. Cool. Yeah, I'm excited.
I am too. I'm looking forward to it.
It's been a while.
Can I get in for free? No,
well, yeah, duh. No, I'm charging you.
I'm just messing with you.
It's $30, by the way. Sorry, I didn't mention that, but yeah, $30.
But worth it.
Yes.
Because she's good.
Yeah, everybody gets a reading. It's guaranteed. Yeah. That's why it's limited seating, so everybody gets a chance.
Right.
I do whatever you
I mean, as long as something comes in for you on the other side, but I would imagine whoever's there would.
Well, yeah, and if it doesn't come in, like if I'm not getting a spirit, they can show me pictures or if they have animals, but I'll get something even for them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not worried.
Awesome.
Everybody will get a reading.
Be cool.
Yeah. Sure. So that's what I got.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, how about we jump into episode 39?
39.
The Winchester Mystery House.
Yeah.
So, why is it a mystery? Let's find that out.
It's a huge mystery.
Yeah.
And this has been a really cool kind of process for me because when we decided to go up to San Francisco, we thought along the way we'll make a stop at this Winchester Mystery House. I honestly had never heard about it. Well, I can't say that. I had heard about it recently on Facebook from friends that had gone. I saw pictures, but that's really all I knew. I had no idea what it was about. But for you, it was something that was like on your bucket list.
Always wanted to go there.
Yeah. So we decided we're going to stop. And I honestly didn't know much about it. We wanted to let Marina know what we were doing. And so we read her what was on the website, which is what I'm going to read now so that you guys can hear what we heard. But this is all that I knew going into this experience. Okay. So it says, this is straight off their website. The Winchester Mystery House is an architectural wonder and historic landmark in San Jose, California, that was once the personal residence of Sarah Lockwood Pardee Winchester, the widow of William Winchester and heiress to a large portion of the Winchester repeating arms fortune. Tragedy befell Sara. Her infant daughter died of a childhood illness, and a few years later, her husband was taken from her by tuberculosis. Shortly after her husband's death, Sara left their home in New Haven, Connecticut, and moved out west to San Jose. There she bought an 8-room farmhouse and began what could only be described as the world's longest home renovation, stopping only when Sara passed on September 5th, 1922. Some facts about it: it's 24,000 square feet. It has 10,000 windows, 2,000 doors, 160 rooms, 52 skylights, 47 staircases and fireplaces, 17 chimneys, 13 bathrooms, 6 kitchens, and it was built at the price tag of what would be today about $70 million.
Yeah.
Crazy. So this is a little bit more about what they say online. What remained is indeed a mystery. Even before her passing, rumors of a mystery house being built by an eccentric and wealthy woman swirled. Was she instructed to build this home by a psychic? Was she haunted by ghosts those felled by the gun that won the West? Talking about the gun she was the heiress to.
Yes.
Did construction truly never stop? What motivated a well-educated socialite to cut herself off from the rest of the world and focus along solely on building the world's most beautiful yet bizarre mansion? So that's all that I knew.
Right.
I didn't go there expecting to talk to spirits or anything like that.
Right.
I just went to see this house that I knew had mystery doors.
Yeah.
And gosh, I don't even know how to start with our experience there, but it was very cool.
I don't know what I expected. I guess after the Pierpont Inn, I was sort of like, maybe,
Yeah, maybe
I assume you're
connection.
always going to get something from somebody, but
me too. I guess I just don't expect it. I don't go in with any expectation that that's what's going to happen.
Right.
And because I think that if I build myself up and I'm like, oh, something's coming, that it will maybe shut me down a little bit,
Two interesting things about that, though, is that the Pierpont Inn and her house, Mrs. Winchester's house, are relatively about the same time, same era.
Yes.
And both women, both not builders themselves, but in charge of.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's very interesting. Yeah.
Correlation.
Definitely.
I don't know if it means anything, but that just dawned on me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good correlation. I never thought about that. So when we started our tour, you have a tour guide at the Winchester Mansion, and the tour guide, he was really sweet. You could tell he absolutely loves his job.
Yes.
Okay. So Stephen, yes. Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen. It was very good.
Yes, thank you, because I would like to send them this, so maybe they'll have a listen.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you, Stephen. You were a fantastic tour guide. So at first, in the front room, they kind of give you a breakdown a little bit of what you're going into, tell you the rules. And then from there, they take you into a room that has windows. What do you call those types of windows that she liked?
They started with where she used to wheel her carriage in.
Yes, yeah. And that's where he gave the breakdown of what we were going to be seeing.
Yes.
So, but then we got to the room with stained glass windows. Mm-hmm. That's what it was. And they show you a video in there. And so I was just watching the video, and this picture comes up of Sara, and I hear, I don't look anything like that, or something along those lines. Doesn't look anything like me, but not like how you would talk today. You could tell it was more like proper. So I knew immediately. I'm like, okay, this is her. I could just start to feel her presence. And she started talking about this tour guide and how he was her favorite. And I think it was arranged for us to have her favorite, but cool. He was getting ahead of himself. Like when he would talk, it was like, I don't know how to explain it. He wasn't finishing words before the next ones were coming out.
He was very excited and passionate about it. You could tell. And that made me feel good, not just for the money you spend on something like that, but something that's so historical, that was built so well, that's still standing there.
Yeah.
And so misunderstood.
It's very misunderstood because there's no proof of anything really. And we'll get into that. Yeah. Right. So anyway, she was talking to me and we're watching this video and she was telling me that Steven's her favorite and that he gets ahead of himself. And I hadn't noticed the getting ahead of himself yet.
I did immediately.
Did you?
Yeah,
yeah, I didn't. And then when she pointed out, I was like, oh, thanks. You know, then the rest of the time you hear it. Mm-hmm. But it was interesting because I'm pretty sure that Steven knew that I was a medium. I could just tell there was like this connection almost that he just knew. Right. I'm sure he's done that job for a long time. He's very passionate about it. I'm sure he sees it all the time.
He did say something in regards to like if there is about one particular person that has been spotted there by
one of the workers. Mm-hmm.
And he said, if they are around, I don't want to know.
Yeah, I don't want to see it.
So I don't know if he was talking to you or just saying that out loud.
Because it is funny because when he said that, he had said that he was kind of scared about that. I thought about saying to him, don't be scared.
Oh, don't be scared.
No, don't be scared. There's nothing to be scared of. They're not going to hurt you.
Sarah ain't going to hurt you.
But I didn't. After he said that, I'm like, I don't want him to quit his job.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we go on the tour of this home, and I don't even know how to describe it. It was fascinating. But for me, let me explain a little bit about how my abilities work, and I'm assuming this is just in general. I like to come into a situation without knowing anything. When I do a reading, I want you to show me a picture of the person or animal, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Give me their name. I don't want to know anything else. Don't fill my head full of information because it throws me off. Mm-hmm. So that's what it's like for me going to a place like Winchester, is that I didn't have a lot of info, but I had enough. It was enough to taint me.
Right.
So I'm walking through this house and I'm trying to listen to what Steven's saying, all the while kind of trying to listen to if she's coming back in and what she wants to say, and trying to form my own opinion. And that's really, really hard to do when you have a tour guide telling you that the things he's telling you are fact.
Right.
Okay. And they're really not. They're not fact. They don't know.
All of it.
No. So anyway, so we go on the tour of the house, and it was absolutely amazing. It's definitely worth seeing. There are staircases that lead to nowhere. There is a door that it leads to nowhere. You open it, and if you walk out, you're falling straight down.
Yeah, strange zigzag stairs with very low stair height, which they get into explaining, but again, I think for a lot of people it was misunderstood because they didn't know the history of it.
It feels, when you walk in there, it feels like a fun house, kind of.
It does.
Because she had really bad arthritis, and so she had stairs and things specially made for her. She was also 4'10".
Yes.
So very, very short. So since this house was built by her, or not, with her hands, but she was like one of the designers on it, it was designed for her height. So the doors are pretty, you walk through them. Perfect for me. I'm 5 feet tall. It was great. But for a tall person,
Yeah, it was low.
Yeah, I'm sure it felt like a fun house with that as well.
I think even some of like the countertops and things were felt lower.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. This home was very, very detailed.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Craftsman, beautiful.
Yes. This woman was extremely wealthy. Okay. She could have anything that she wanted, buy anything she wanted, do anything she wanted.
Right. This gun kind of made its premiere. The Winchester rifle made its premiere in the Civil War, I believe, is what they said.
I believe so.
So, and then after that, that's why it's called the gun that won the West.
Right.
Essentially, is what it's revered as. And so, the amount of money that family made, and that she was heir to just by being married to her husband, was a ton of money.
Right. So, let's talk a little bit about the story that they tell you when you're on the tour. When you're on the tour, they basically tell you that she's from Connecticut, New Haven, Connecticut. She had a daughter, and that daughter was born with a rare disease, which is true. The daughter couldn't absorb nutrition. Right. So I believe it was within a couple of weeks the daughter passed away.
Right.
And then they say on the website a few years later, but it was actually 15 years later that her husband died. And he was the heir to the Winchester rifle, but because he died, she was next in line. So she took that money, and it was a lot of money.
Right.
A lot of money. Doesn't bring back her husband, though.
No.
Story goes that she went to a medium, and that medium contacted her husband, and her husband said that she should move out west because spirits of this people that were killed by this revolver, right? It was a revolver?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it was a rifle.
No, it was a rifle. People that were killed by this rifle, their spirits were haunting her, and that she should get out west. That's how the story goes. Mm-hmm. So she moves out to California and she buys this farmhouse and she starts building, right? They tell you that she just keeps building and building and building, and she's hiring, all these people to do what she's seeing in magazines from
she's
like
buying
the other
lots
side
that are opening up next to her to make the house even larger.
Right.
So. And
they really kind of push into you that she was a recluse, which she was. She was very, very much an introvert. She was very afraid, I think, of having relationships, deep relationships with people because she had lost people before.
Right.
But they make it out to sound like she went crazy, and maybe she did. But so she moves out to California. This is a story again. She moves out to California because the psychic tells her to, right? But there's no proof of any of this, that any of this ever happened.
The psychic part?
Yes. There's nothing. This is something that they believe was made up by a newspaper or whatever. So you're going along on this tour, which is wonderful, but they're filling your head full of this stuff that they're not really even sure.
Right. They kind of add a little Hollywood flair to it.
They add a lot of Hollywood flair to it, which, it sells. Mm-hmm. Sara was not with me the entire time of this tour. I looked around. I got to enjoy it myself.
Right.
There were a couple of other spots that she did stand out and a couple of important key parts of this story. Mm-hmm. She lived in this house during the San Francisco earthquake in 1906. Mm-hmm. They took us into this room that she was staying in because she moved into different rooms. She didn't sleep in the same room, or so they said.
Yeah.
And this was the room that she was in when the earthquake hit. And the earthquake took out the whole side of the room. Like how would you even describe that? It was like a
because the fireplace was so heavy and it shook that the whole chimney that went up the wall, I think, supplied like 2 or 3 fireplaces up that front.
Yeah, it was very
tower
heavy.
That it just crumbled and all fell.
Yeah, and from the outside, because they left it, they didn't repair it.
Right.
From the outside, it reminds me of like Rapunzel's castle, because it's all like vines have built into it now.
And it has like that round towerish kind of look.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
So while you're in that room, they play the sound of what an earthquake sounds like if you're in it, and it's getting louder and louder.
Right.
And I hear her telling me that it was the scariest day of her life. That she really did believe, and I believe this, that spirits were coming for her at that point.
Wow.
Because she didn't know really what it was. We'll get into it a little later, but they don't even know that she was really at this house when the earthquake happened. But before the earthquake happened, she had built, and they don't talk about this there much, she built an ark. An actual ark. It's a replica. It burnt now, but it was a replica of Noah's Ark.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was like a houseboat off the coast of San Francisco. So she built that before the earthquake even hit. So she had like a premonition or something.
I think she was connected.
She was connected. Yeah. So one of the other big rooms that they take you to in here is the seance room. And that was a really interesting thing for me because, I'm listening to what the tour guide is saying. And for me, it's not adding up, but I want to believe what he's saying. I want to know what actually happened here.
Right.
You know what I mean? So their side of it is that she would do a seance in this room every night from 12 a.m. to 2 a.m.
Right?
Yeah. And she would lock the doors. Nobody was allowed in there. There was a closet that had robes in it. But nobody was ever allowed in there. There were bars in the windows.
Yeah, the closet was like the secret passageway into that room.
Yes, it was definitely a very interesting room. Mm-hmm. So in there, I was like really trying to figure out what happened in this room. Because they're making it sound like she was trying to keep spirits in, or whatever it was.
That part didn't make sense to me. If you're scared of them, why are you trying to keep them in?
Right, exactly.
For 2 hours.
It didn't really make any sense.
Now, some of this is testimony from people that worked with her, I'm assuming, is where they say they get some of this information.
Well, let me tell you what I did this week. I wanted to know facts like what you're asking. I wanted to know what is really known, not from Winchester's standpoint. I want to know what's real. So I found a book. I have to find it so that I can give credit. But it was written about Sara's life. And the information in this is from actual documents that they have found, from interviews with people that worked for her and different things like that. It's all done off of fact.
Right. That's good.
Yeah. So for the last 3 days that I've been listening to that.
Okay. So
get into that. Is there anything else about the tour that you can think of that we should fill our listeners in?
No, I mean, you have to understand, I think this was because she was always building and the kind of money that she had. I mean, they estimated that she was bringing home $26,000 a day.
Yes.
Then.
That's a lot of money.
$26,000 a day.
Yep.
She paid all of her workers twice the going rate.
Yes.
And they said she was very sweet, very, very sweet to the people that worked around her, because I think partly because she was reclusive and she didn't have family.
Right.
She had one niece around her, I think, that was around her till she passed.
Right.
That lived with her for about 15 years. But so she treated everybody really well, paid everybody really well.
Right.
I thought maybe part of the reason that she didn't go out a lot is not only because of her health, and you mentioned that she had really bad teeth that she was embarrassed about. She used to wear a veil.
Yes.
And everybody thought that was mourning her husband.
Yes.
That she was always wearing black and a veil. I think it was more insecurity about her look.
Right.
And then she also, is getting older, is, a handicap, and it's getting harder to go out.
Yes.
But I thought maybe she might actually be afraid of threats or being mocked, be like, oh, you're the one that owns all those guns that killed everybody, in the Civil War, and then some after.
Yes. I think she dealt with a lot.
Yeah.
She had a really, really rough life.
Yeah. And
so she dealt with it the best way that she knew how.
Yeah.
So, first, let me tell you that this book that I read is Captive of the Labyrinth by Mary Jo Ignafo. And I listened to it on Audible. It was a great listen. And I really got some good information from it. So I want to start with a little bit of what they said in the book compared to what they say in the house. Okay. First of all, one thing that I didn't mention before is that they say she was obsessed with the number 13. Mm-hmm. Everything they tell you in the house is that it's 13 this, 13 that. Everything's the number 13. For me, it's one of my numbers, so I was instantly connected on it.
Right.
But if you remember, I said to you, I'm just not getting why. What is the 13 significance? What is it about? I was trying to figure it out. So listening to this book and doing a little bit other research online, that's a part of the amusement of it. They did that. The people that own Winchester House now, they did that. They added the 13.
The 13.
But only partially. She was really big into synchronicity and into numerology. I truly do believe that she herself was a medium, that she built those abilities herself after her husband died.
Yeah, I think she was.
Yes. And I think that may be a part of that room, too, that they were talking about. Not necessarily a seance room, but maybe a meditation room. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so they talk about the 13s, and according to the book and the other research that I've done, that is not true. And I was not getting anything off of the 13 either. When I go in and try and ask her that question, there was nothing.
Right.
So I take it, and from the other things that it was all about her numerology and synchronicity. She liked 13 of this. She liked 52 of this. She liked different numbers, 7,
in essence, just
7,
kind of
11,
her lucky
yeah.
number.
It was
in a way
lucky numbers, but everything added up. It was like the numerology part. So there is like a partial truth to that. But I think they took the 13 and like exaggerated it because that's an unlucky number. Like,
again, Hollywood flair.
Yeah, exactly. So when they talk about things like her seeing the psychic in New Haven, there's no proof of that. This is things that have kind of shown up in newspaper articles, and then they kind of run with it. Now, where the source was of this, maybe there wasn't one, maybe it was just created,
right?
Or maybe somebody talked. Maybe somebody, said something that worked for her. I do believe that she saw this medium. I do believe he connected to her husband, and that she was told to get away from the area because there were spirits that were following her.
And she did.
Yes. In the folklore of it, they tell you that this medium told her to go and build this house and make spirits crazy so that they can't get to her to hurt her. And that I don't believe that that's what happened at all. I believe that she was a brilliant woman.
Yeah.
She was a genius, and she
I think
actually
it's
was.
kind of I think it's sort of a shrine or a monument to her loved ones who passed. Like, okay, I'm getting $26,000 a day in 1906. What do you do with that kind of money when you're all by yourself?
Right.
Well, how about this? And you said that you read this, was that it was something that she even thought people would want to come see much after she's gone.
Yes, and I've expanded on that with this reading. I've done a lot more meditating on this and kind of getting into that part a little bit, absolutely, of it. But a couple of reasons, like, okay, first of all, what you were saying about her being reclusive and being alone. She wasn't alone. She had a lot of people that worked for her, but her niece also lived there. So she wasn't alone. She traveled a lot. Yep. The thing is like, to be honest, I don't blame her for any of what she did. She stayed to herself. She went out, but when she went out, she was like a celebrity. She was very slick about it. Nobody really saw her moving about, but she had homes all over the place, different properties everywhere. Right. And she was traveling all over the place. Right. Nobody knew that. She didn't talk.
She was a smart businesswoman.
Yes.
And she was private.
Yes, absolutely. And so as far as the house goes, I think that happened for a lot of reasons, but I don't think that it had anything to do with the spirits, like her trying to get away from the spirits. Okay. Few reasons why I think that she did it. First of all, was boredom, needing something to do. She had all that money, so she didn't have to really work or anything. She was also really good at investing. So on top of that money that you were talking about, she was also getting more investments. Right. So she was...
And designing.
She was designing. She was very, very creative.
She loved to design. And
she did.
in what's the word I'm looking for? Inventive.
Yes, very. So when I try and piece this together... For me, I feel like she did that because that's what she wanted. She wanted to build this house. She wanted to be elaborate with it and do, she didn't want to build outside. She wanted to see it be done. She wanted to be a part of it and involved in it and enjoy it and be creative. So things like I've really been doing my research on this, trying to find a picture. Let's say that door that goes to nowhere. Okay. There is no picture pre-earthquake of that door. There's no picture pre-earthquake of that area. I've searched and I've searched and I've searched. So we have no idea if there was anything actually there that may have fallen, leaving that door there. I'm not trying to be negative and
like
say that this was
later.
it. Yeah.
Right.
But the thing
possible.
Yeah.
Because it was abandoned and was up for sale. Nobody wanted to buy it because the earthquake safety of it, and nobody knew how to go about trying to make that, safe for people. Then I forget who the company was, but some company came in, purchased it for $130,000 in auction.
Yeah, it was practically nothing, and within days they had turned it into an amusement park / haunted house.
It used to be a self-guided with like footprints through it, and it got really jacked up and damaged a lot by people.
Yeah.
But you might be right. That could have been added, to sort of their repertoire of the Hollywood flair later on. Another point they make in the tour is that the front door, which was very beautiful entrance to the whole house, the front porch and everything, but that the only 3 people that ever walked through that front door was Sara and the 2 guys that installed it. Well, how could they really know that with 60-something? Didn't she have like 60-something workers?
Right. And she had all these entrances and doors and everything.
That's a little bit like, come on.
A lot of it, it's absolutely, it's created.
Yeah.
Something else that they tell you, and I read that, was that the construction didn't stop until the day she died in 1922. They tell you that in the tour so many times.
Right.
That is not true. Construction stopped on that house after the San Francisco earthquake. All they did was repair, and she had a 7-story tower, and it collapsed. So they took that down and put it back to be, I think it was 3 stories. Yeah. So then they just did repairs on that. So hear me out here. One of the first things I remember seeing on that tour was the staircase to nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't a staircase to nowhere.
That was the tower.
It was, I don't know if it was the tower.
Something damaged, and they just
It was something damaged in the earthquake, so they capped it off.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about Sara and this whole story is that nobody knew. Mm-hmm. And the people that knew weren't talking. Sara was a very, very private person.
Right.
When there were things written about her, she took it very personally, but she didn't come out and say anything about this is wrong, that's wrong, this is wrong, this is the fact. She never said anything.
She didn't respond.
Yeah. So people just assumed that she was crazy and that she was building this home to ward off evil spirits, when all along this woman was building this amazing home that unfortunately just took a giant hit in the San Francisco earthquake. And then
this thing is gorgeous.
Repaired.
I mean,
it's beautiful.
For the time that it was built in, she used top notch, some of her tiling, ceiling tiling was fabric. It was just exquisite,
it was amazing.
But embossed fabric.
Right.
So it had texture and shape to it, kind of,
Right.
But yeah, she was an amazing designer. They don't make houses like this anymore.
She had an amazing stained glass window collection.
Mm-hmm.
There was one, oh my gosh, I'll have to put a picture up of it. I can't remember how much they said it was.
They said it was the most expensive thing in the house.
Yes, it was it had pieces of silver and gold, and it was just absolutely beautiful.
Which had 13
or so they say
circles in it.
Right. So they say. Again, these are things that I don't know anymore.
Well, it may not. It may have. I didn't count them, sit there and count them, but I took a picture of it. I should count them.
Well, in the book that I was reading, they said, remember, there was a chandelier that it came to her with 12.
That was a little shady.
Okay, but listen to how the book explains it. Okay, so there's a chandelier that has 12 bulbs on it, and they say that she wanted it to have 13, so they added a 13. Okay, this woman had all the money you could imagine, but the work done on that chandelier looks like it was done by a child.
Yeah.
It's like they just took an extra bulb and placed it on the top. And if she had actually done that, wanted 13, she would have had one specially made with 13 on it. These are the types of things that they don't think that we think about. And you know what? I didn't. When I was in the tour, I'm like, this is so cool. But also knowing that there's no way that this was actually what happened.
Right.
No, sorry. So
yeah, it looked like they had, their handyman get up on a ladder.
Yeah, exactly.
And just screw that in there for, again, the story, the flair.
Exactly. You had mentioned that I had mentioned to you that she knew that this house was going to become an attraction. So the way that I feel about this is not that she built this house and did strange things in it to make it a fun house. I really believe that she wanted to show off her design abilities.
Yeah, because it was phenomenal.
It really was. And
some of the things that she used,
yeah.
She had a sauna, which was created by a hot water heater tank, and 4 fireplaces within a close proximity, different rooms.
Yes.
But she'd stand in the center, and any condensation in that room had like metal floors underneath it.
Yeah.
So any condensation would like run. She had atrium rooms that were built that way.
Yes.
Glass, skylights and full walls of glass and sloped metal floors so that they didn't have to move as many plants, and they could just take them out, sit them on the ground, which was metal, and it had a drain.
Right.
They had an elevator. She used a bell service.
Yes. That was very
a talk
advanced.
Service throughout the whole house. You could talk through a tube, and it worked. She had a dummy elevator for room service that would tell them exactly what room she was in. It was just wild.
It was amazing. I really feel like she thought that this was going to be some kind of, I don't want to call it a museum, but like high tech, like, whoa, this is kind of the first we're seeing of a lot of these things, that when she died, that it would be more like that. I do feel like she had the medium and the psychic abilities, the connection. So this is something that I believe that she was told that it was going to become a tourist attraction. For me, at least, when I get messages for myself, a lot of times they will be very vague and I won't know details of them until later. And I feel like that's kind of what happened with Sara, was she didn't realize what kind of attraction it was going to be.
Right, but her connection was telling her this is going to be something significant. The connection to the other side, to the spirit.
Yes.
They're basically saying, yes, do this, I think it more started as like, well, what am I going to do? I got this huge piece of land.
Right.
And I built this house, and I want to make it bigger. Like, I kind of want to honor my family.
Yeah. And
use the money that I have. And then that connection kicked in and was like, yes, keep going, because this is going to be bigger than you.
Right.
Right. It's going to go on for a long, long, long time, if not forever,
This woman was amazing. Like, I don't really usually do this much research on a person, but so her husband died of tuberculosis, and through her entire life, she made very, very large donations to institutes that dealt with trying to find cures or whatnot for tuberculosis. There was actually a center that was open in New Haven, Connecticut, where she was from, just for tuberculosis care, and she had donated, and it was all anonymous until after she died, over $1 million. And in that time, that was some money.
Yeah.
It was very, very important to her, because that's how she lost her husband, What
did they say she put into that house altogether? About $5 million? Which today's standards was something of...
I think that was what I read in there. It said like 70 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
I want to make you guys understand that I'm not saying the house isn't haunted, quote unquote. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go there and enjoy it and learn about Sara, and you might feel spirits or whatever. But I don't think people understand what the word haunting or haunted means.
Exactly.
All it means is that it's frequented by a spirit.
Yeah.
Which means everything is haunted.
Right.
Everything. This
no
room we're sitting in right now.
Or devils or...
Right.
It's just the presence of somebody's soul.
Exactly. The spirits, they don't hurt you. I don't believe for a second that Sara believed that any spirits were out to hurt her.
Right.
And the spirits that are there now are not going to hurt anybody.
No.
Something that I learned over that weekend away was why these spirits do this. Why they stay at a location. Why is Sara staying at this location? First of all, she's not staying there.
No.
When you die, we all have our soul, right? But your soul is split. Mm-hmm. You can be wherever you want. You can be in as many places as you want. And so I've learned that when there's a place like what Sara had with Winchester, there is a piece of her soul always there. Mm-hmm. She wants to watch over her place. This was hers. You know, she's a spirit now. Right. Is she thrilled with what's been done to her place? Well, she's a spirit, so she doesn't look at it that way.
No, and she intuitively knows, I think especially people like yourself,
yes,
that have that gift, that she wants to be. Is she present there every moment, every second? I don't know. But I'll tell you, she definitely made it a point to be there that day for you, I think in particular, because you can help set, and other people like you can help set her story straight a little more. I
didn't even think about that going into it. And that's exactly what I think that they try to do, is that they want you to know their side of the story, because nobody's telling their side of the story with these so-called hauntings. Right. You know, what was wrong with Sara? Well, there was nothing wrong with her. And
she's proud of it. It's like, it's as if she's sort of still standing there at the front door welcoming her guest in. You know, they said she never had a guest in that house. I don't know. That's not true. I don't believe that.
No, it's not true.
They make all that up.
She was very reclusive and didn't bring a lot of people into her home.
Right.
There were actually 2 presidents that visited the area, and they were usually hosted by wealthy families. And Sara did not offer either time to host the president. She just wasn't into people for a few reasons, but I really don't blame her, because when you have that kind of money, people talk about you, like, and they want things from you. And, you know, like, there obviously wasn't paparazzi back then, but the way that I would kind of attribute how she makes me feel about it is like the National Enquirer. Like, people,
there wasn't paparazzi, but with cameras, but there was definitely people that worked for papers that would write about you.
That's exactly right. And like today, if we have a celebrity that's not really open about their life, we try and figure out what it is that is weird, and until they come out and say, no, that's not true, we believe it. But Sara never came out and said that none of this was true. She just let everybody believe it. But she did have a lot of family around her. She did have really great relationships with everybody that worked for her. These people were given homes that worked for her. They owned these homes. She was very, very generous. She left a lot of money to a lot of people.
And when you worked for her, it was free room and board. So many people would come and work for her for 6 months.
Yes.
Because they would come from back east to work for her for 6 months or whatever, and go back home because they could make so much money working for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And she liked to keep the circle small, because I feel like then if things did get out, she kind of knew who she was dealing with, you know. But I feel like people really looked up to her and they loved her, and they didn't want to say things about her, but there wasn't really much bad to say about her.
Right.
You know, she just
when you think about it, for whoever came up with this kind of story, just like, you know, Amityville Horror is a great example of admitted basically coming up with something. But when you think about it, whoever did come up with the story with the Winchester Mansion and Sara was a perfect candidate, because there is nothing public about any response to any of what the claims would have been during her time, you know?
There's
so
nothing.
They could have said, look, it adds more to the mystery, because we have nothing, we can't find anything about this woman, you know, disputing or rebuttaling to any of these claims ever.
Right. Exactly. Well, a couple other things that book noted we had talked about the seance room and that there was a closet that they told us had 13 hooks in it. And then there were robes that were hanging for each spirit that she tried to, like, I don't know, keep in the room or whatever. Right. Like each one she communicated with. Houdini is the one that said that. There was no proof that's what that was for, that that closet had robes in it or anything. Houdini made that up.
About her?
He went out and did like this thing there. I don't even know what it was. Some Halloween thing. And it was just something that came out of his mouth.
Was this much after she
died? Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. See, it's
just stories. It's absolutely just stories.
It doesn't get any more Hollywood than Houdini.
Yeah. A couple of things that Sara told me about herself that I haven't really verified online, but I thought were interesting, is that she did love to travel, which kind of is obvious, and she loved to read. She really was a genius. She read everything that she could get her hands on. Wow. Very, very smart woman.
Spoke a lot of languages, yeah?
I can't remember.
I thought he said that.
She did. She spoke, I want to say 5 or 6.
4 or 5.
Something like that. Yeah. And something else that was pointed out, because like I said, I did other research as well, and you had said is that she does, and these other spirits, they do seek out mediums. If you're a medium and you go to these places, they seek you out.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, like, the reason I think that she sought you out or made sure she was going to be fully there and communicate with you was to set her story straight.
Yes.
Now, the lady, I forget her name, forgive me, miss.
Josephine Pierpont?
Yes.
Yeah, Pierpont and Ventura.
I don't feel like she had any really story to set straight. No. Other than she was just extremely proud of it.
Yeah.
And wanted, I guess, us to know a couple things. That A, she's real.
Yeah.
It's true. She did all this. Mm-hmm. And B, she's over there. See you when you get here.
Exactly. She was in and out very quick when that spirit came in.
Yeah.
Sara stayed with me off and on the entire time that we were there. One of the other times that she came in, I actually got emotional. And I get emotional now just thinking about it. There was the dining room, and they talked about how she would eat there every night by herself in that dining room. And then afterwards, she would come into the parlor, and she would sit at this table in the parlor. And I saw her play this scene playing out. Mm-hmm. But the way that they made it sound was that she was so miserable. But this was her favorite part of the day. And I'm sitting here thinking, why am I so connected to this room? Why do I feel like I want to cry when they're telling me that this is a sad place? Mm-hmm. That was her favorite room in the house.
Right.
She loved to have dinner in there and loved to come into the parlor.
They had it all darkly lit, kind of. It was, they did
she
that. She
loved it.
They did that on purpose.
She would sit at that table and read her book and look outside and enjoy the fountains and the birds and everything. But they made it sound like she was so miserable. She wasn't miserable.
No, I mean, was she sad because she lost her family? Sure.
Well, yeah, that messed with her. And the earthquake did mess with her. Afterwards, she kind of, like, nobody heard anything about her for a long time. I can't remember. It was a few years. Mm-hmm. And she said she had a mental breakdown after the earthquake. Can you blame her? The whole city came apart.
Right.
I would have too. But she pulled herself back together. And this is a woman that changed her will constantly to make sense. Mm-hmm. Everything that she did made sense. So these stories about that she did all of this building to appease spirits or keep them away, it's all folklore.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
She's definitely there, and it's a beautiful place to visit.
Right.
But it's not what they make it out to be.
No, yeah. I felt connected immediately when I walked in there. You can feel, I want to use the word heavy, but I don't want people to think of it in a dark sense or a bad or a sad sense. I could feel the time. Mm-hmm. I could feel the history, the heaviness. I could feel all the souls that had been around there or worked there. Something interesting happened to me even on the way. As we were driving up before we even hit San Jose, I had said this to you, that we were trading off driving, so I was kicking back when it was my turn to be in the passenger seat. And so I'm looking around, and I got this strange sense of this thought of, imagine what this place looked like when there was no highway running through it, and it was like Civil War time.
Yeah.
I had no idea that the Civil War or anything about this story with the Winchester house or mansion had anything to do with Civil War.
Yeah.
And so that was the first thing that I was like, whoa, okay, I guess they're trying to get my attention, so then we go in and we're going through the tour and everything. And all these staircases have these little, I don't know what they're made out of, iron or nickel or something.
I don't know.
Very nice or ornamental looking craftsman style. But in the corners of all the stairs, they're screwed in, and they're metal, and they're just nice looking. And I have never seen them before.
I hadn't either.
And Samantha says to me, and the tour guide actually asks everybody at one point if anybody knows what those are for.
Yeah.
Samantha asked me about 3 minutes prior, or a few minutes prior to him asking the crowd.
Yeah.
What are those for? And I just said straight out, to keep the dust out of the corners.
Yeah. Like he
I'd
knew.
never seen it. I didn't know. And it was like,
where did that come from?
And then he asked, and I didn't answer because I wanted to hear what his answer was. Not that it was that mind-boggling to look at and not figure out.
Oh, I had no idea.
But I responded so quickly, like I just knew.
That's definitely ability,
and I could feel that time. I was almost like there.
Yeah.
It was bizarre. So that was another interesting little fact that kind of popped in during this trip about this particular subject.
Yeah. No, that was really cool. And that's how the abilities work too, is sometimes what is that? Is that the clairvoyance? One of those that is the knowing. And you don't know how you know, but you're like, wait a minute, I've never seen this before in my life, and I know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that when you're in a setting like that you have those spirits and that energy there, and you have me there, that of course they're going to connect you and start, working through you as well.
Yeah, it was fabulous. It was a really amazing experience. And then obviously, we took a lot of pictures.
Yes, I was just going to talk about that. And
when we got home or back to our hotel where we were staying, we're looking through all the pictures and, oohing and ahhing at it. And something told me very clearly, you need to zoom in on these. You need to start zooming in on these, which is exactly what I did with the Pierpont photos that we took, because there were some orb. And you can get some light refraction going on with the iPhones that will create that. But there was one in particular that wasn't perfectly round. It was a very strange shape. And so we, would screenshot it, zooming in, until finally you can see Mrs. Pierpont in the sky.
Yeah, exactly.
So same thing with this story with the Winchester. We're looking at the photos that night and start zooming in, and lo and behold, Samantha had taken one, out, looking out the front of the house in the front garden, and start blowing it up, and you can see this kind of foggy kind of apparition. And, I said, I see a head right there, and all of a sudden, boom, it was like I could see it all.
You showed me,
It's the whole carriage. You can see both wheels of the carriage, her sitting in the carriage, and then there's all these little, maybe 10 orbs kind of bouncing around this sort of apparition.
It was
but then
so
on top
clear.
of that, you start zooming in other sections, and her I'm assuming it's her daughter or it's the niece.
It's probably, it could be either one.
Her face is in the trees.
Yes.
And then the husband, his face is also
and
part of it.
It's not like we're just looking at a picture and going, oh, look, there's a face. It matches a picture, a professional picture taken of them. Also, in this, we found dogs, multiple. And in the book, it does confirm that she was a huge dog lover, because in the tour, they only talk about one dog, but she did have dogs
Forgot about
often.
The dog.
So we pulled that picture apart, and I'll post it. That picture blew my mind. Like, I'm okay, I'm a medium and I talk to the spirits, but I am skeptical of things. I'm still on you need to prove to me that this is a spirit. And when I saw that picture and you said, look at this, I instantly knew it was her. There is no denying that that's her. And then going through that picture, almost everybody that was big in her life is represented in there.
They're all there.
They're all there.
Yeah. For me, you know, and that's because the society we live in is that, you know, we need to have fact or something tangible in order to believe in something. But I always go back to well, you know, we breathe air and I can't see that. So, but when this popped up, it just bolted my foundation in this whole belief even more. I was like, yeah, they're there.
Oh, yeah.
They're all there.
Yep.
You know, and I honestly believe one day, you know, we'll be able to, with technology, maybe capture that better.
I think so, too. I absolutely do. But until then, I think we're going to have to keep going out and doing these. I mean, not that we've done either one of these places as a setup for me to talk to spirits.
Right.
But now that we have done it, I'm ready to do more.
Yeah, there's other places. I mean, everything's got history. It
doesn't have to be, nothing like that.
Like off limits as far as it's too scary or haunted because they're not going to hurt you.
Yeah, on any of these things, if you go on these ghost tours, so to speak, it's your own mind that gets you frightened. I can do it to myself very easily. I know the spirits aren't going to hurt me, but when I'm in a dark house by myself, if you don't think that I'm like, who's going to play a joke on me first?
Right.
Because I am. you know, it's just our minds. It's how they work.
Exactly.
But if you can go into this kind of thing with an open mind, like I didn't go in there afraid of anything. I just, you know.
Oh, I couldn't wait. I was so excited.
Yeah. You never know what kind of experience you're going to have.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know, where there's history, there's definitely souls. So, and I think that's kind of the key. Like, you can't go to the mall and feel that same energy. You've got to find places that have been around before you.
Right.
And I think you'll have a greater chance of having those kind of experiences. You can connect with whoever, whenever you want. But if you want those kind of experiences with people, which another thing that happened on this trip is outside of Winchester is that we went to, there's Fort Baker, which is right down by the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
And within that installation they had, which was built back in as early as Civil War, again, and all the way through like World War II. I think it was used a lot. Might even be still used. I don't know. But they have a Mickey Mouse museum.
It's the Walt Disney Family Museum.
Thank you.
Yes.
And so it was really neat. That was a wonderful experience. And again, an amazing connection for Samantha. But got to see a lot of personal things with him, you know.
Oh, it was amazing.
A miniaturized display of Disneyland that he used to stand over
Old
and stare
school
at.
Disneyland,
You know, so it was a great...
Yeah.
That was a great experience, too.
It was, yeah.
I know it meant a lot to you because I've tried to tell her, I think a long time ago when she first realized, you know, this gift, and I was like, ooh, let's talk to this person. Let's talk to this person.
Right.
And I think her understanding of it was, well...
You have to have a connection.
You have to have a connection to it. But in this situation, you do have a connection, but you went to where that person, that person's energy is going to be very prominent.
Very prominent.
So when you do that, you're increasing your chances.
Right.
And then opening that door
right.
to further communication, because maybe Mr. Walt Disney didn't really even know you existed until you walked in there and he was like,
well,
I got to talk to her.
You're leaving out a key part in this is that I did connect to Walt Disney.
Yes, that's what I was referring to.
Yeah, but you didn't say that.
So, well, I was referring that you had a great connection to him.
Yes, but it was, okay, this is a story I haven't really talked much about because I get emotional. I didn't go in there thinking I was going to connect to Walt Disney.
Right.
Not for a second.
Right.
And all of a sudden, because the way that I know when I'm connected to somebody is I will hear their voice loud and clear. And it was Walt Disney's voice. And I almost started crying. And I was like, what is going on? And I didn't say anything to anybody. And I kept going through the museum trying to just be like, okay, is Walt Disney really in my head right now?
Right.
But the thing about it is that if there's anybody and any time that I could talk to, anybody,
it would have been him.
It would be Walt Disney.
Yeah.
So I still can't talk about it without tearing up. It was a very, very emotional experience for me. Yeah. Maybe one day I won't tear up every time I talk about it, right. But I did learn on this trip that you don't need a direct connection. It does help when you're in their presence type thing like that. Mm-hmm. That was Walt's museum. It was all about his family. I'm sitting there looking at pictures of him as a boy. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about this when we got home from the trip. And you made a perfect, valid point that if you're bringing somebody into your subconscious like that, of course you're going to connect to them. You don't have to have a direct connection. But I don't know. I'm a new psychic. I'm still learning this stuff. So this was a big trip for me. And I definitely want to do more of these. And
it became really apparent to me walking through that one is no wonder that man was so blessed with all the doubt and adversity that he was up against.
Yes.
With the vision to begin with. Uh-huh. When you look at what it stood for to begin with in its purest form, because Walt was the visionary, but he had so many talented people that worked for him that he treated them in a way, kind of like I was saying in that managerial way earlier. Right. I think he was a different type of boss.
Yes, very much so.
He wanted to bring it out of you.
Right.
He didn't want you to shut you down and keep you down. He wanted to bring the best out of you.
Right.
So when you see what he was trying to really create in his purest form was just imagination.
Right.
Was really the main theme of what he was trying to convey.
Yes.
What the human can do with our imagination. It's no wonder that he has been so blessed and that still exists today, because people that never met him and never will meet him are on that team and behind it.
Yeah.
And, for some people it might be a job, but I'm sure there's a lot of people there that are like Disney fanatics you, that's not just a job. I mean, it's about keeping this thing going. And you look at how many generations this is getting passed over and over and over to. It's astounding. It's so amazing that he didn't give up. Thank you for not giving up.
I can't imagine what this world would be like without Disney.
And I'm not even really, a huge Disney freak. I love it. I like to visit it now and then, but it's the idea.
Right.
It's the idea if you don't give up.
Yes. Oh, he didn't. And that's I think, my connection. Yeah. Yeah. I really feel he was such an amazing family man. Mm-hmm. And I really feel a very strong connection to him on the fact that he didn't give up on his dreams, and I'm not going to give up on mine. So maybe when I can talk a little bit more about it without breaking down in tears.
Get hold of yourself.
I can't. I don't know how, but I really would love to talk about it someday soon.
Well, maybe we'll do an episode of it by itself.
We're out of time anyways.
And out of tissue.
I don't have any. I have my robe here that's...
All right. Cool. Well, that was a good one.
It was. I hope you guys enjoyed it and it wasn't too complicated. If you didn't know, about this, hopefully we explained it well.
If you ever have a chance, take the drive.
Definitely.
Go see it.
There's people that listen to us that are all over the world.
True.
But if you ever make it out to California, to the San Francisco Bay Area.
San Jose.
Yep.
Go. It's a beautiful town in itself, little college town, but that is where the Winchester house is at.
Yep.
And it's definitely worth it.
And if you're a Disney freak, stop in and say hi to Walt.
Yep.
Because that was a great one, too.
Yep. Do it. Well, before we say goodbye to everybody, do you like to share your page?
Sure. You can find anything you need to know about me on my website at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. And again, I am doing that medium circle on February 8th if you're interested. The number, again, is at the beginning, but you can also message me. SpiritualJoneses@gmail.com. We'll set it up for you.
Cool.
Come join us.
Nice.
Yeah.
I look forward to that one.
I'm excited because it's been a long time, and my abilities, I've grown them.
Way better. That's why I look forward to that one.
It's going to be...
I'm probably going to be in the corner like, what?
I'm excited. I'm not going to be that shy
that's
little...
where Linda's going to be like, I got something to say to you, Danny boy.
Anyways, and you, sir, we're going to an hour and a half, and we're going to be like still rambling.
Yeah. If you want to check out my art, you can find me on the web, djonesartcollection.com. I'm just about to wrap up my first one of the new year, and I will have this website. I keep saying it, but probably within a month, I would imagine. I have about 5 or 6 more I have to get photographed so I can post them on the web and then open my store.
Yay.
I just wanted to do this last one because it's a good one.
Yeah.
It's important. So check that out, and you can find that my art page also on at D Jones Art Collection on
ahead of yourself.
Instagram and also on Facebook. And if you want to check out our band, Gypsy Brown, also on the web, gypsybrown.com, and at Gypsy Brown Music on Instagram.
Yeah.
So it looks like a show coming up probably in about 2 months, I think. So we'll see. As soon as I know, I'll share that with everybody. And if who's ever local can make it to the Ventura or LA area, we'd love to have you.
Yay.
And listen.
Well, we will definitely let you know when we have a date for that.
Yep. But we really appreciate everybody listening to this episode.
Yes, we do. Hope you enjoyed it.
Spending the hour with us. And we look forward to next week. And until then, have a great week and peace and love.